All right, everybody, we're going to be changing eye colors non-destructively here in this tutorial. So I have given you through your Google Classroom, I gave you an image to download. So we're going to go ahead and download that. We all remember how to do that. You go to your Google Classroom, okay, and then you go to the image there, and then you hit the three dots, open a new window, and then the download, which is right there, little tab, and it should pop up in your downloads there. You're going to return back to your Photoshop window, hit open, and you're going to go to your downloads, and they're right there. And you hit open, and it should pop up in your Photoshop like that. Remember, you log in with your student email. At this case, you'll see the guidelines. We don't need those, so I'm going to go to View, Clear Canvas Guides. We don't need those in this particular tutorial. Now, since we're doing this non-destructively, it means we're going to be using our adjustment layers that are on the Layers panel. And it's kind of like a rule of thumb. Any type of editing that you want to do is with layers here in the Layers panel. So if they ask you to do something non-destructively, most of the time it's here through the Layers panel. Anything that happens through the menu bar is destructive, meaning it does it to the actual layer that you have downloaded. Here we're going to add an adjustment layer, and it will add a mask, so it will create a different layer and do the adjustment on a different layer. Okay, and you'll see what we mean by that. We discussed it in class, and I'm going to walk you through it here. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to unlock this layer. All right, we have to unlock the layer, and we're going to use one of the select tools. Now, in the type tutorial, you can use a lasso tool if you'd like, and you can use the elliptical marquee tool. Okay, I like to use the elliptical marquee tool. You get a much more perfect selection, but you can use the lasso tool, which makes you have it is a tool that is kind of like if you were drawing on your document there. So it's a little more uneven, but I'm going to use the elliptical marquee tool to draw those selections. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom in first, Control plus, so I can get a better view. Now, in this particular assignment, I want you to change the first person's eye color to any color you want, and then the following three, I want it to be red, green, and blue, so RGB, okay? The digital color mode, RGB. So, and the first one will be any color you'd like, and then after that is RGB, so red, green, and blue eyes, okay? So first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw this circle use the elliptical marquee to create a circle selection around that iris. So I'm going to hold the the shift, and I'm going to draw. And what you can see when I hold the shift, it keeps it in proportion, means it makes it a perfect circle. Now, if I want to move it over the eye, I then have to press the space bar, and I can move wherever I want. Now, if you don't create a good selection, the best thing to do is to create the sphere or the circle, from the top. I like to drag it diagonally like this, and then I use the space bar to move it over the top, and you can create your perfect selection, your perfect circle selection. Now, I need to create another selection over the other eye, so I'm just going to hold the shift and again pull it from the bottom like this and use the space bar, and there you go. You have your two selections. Now remember, anytime I put a selection down on Photoshop, selection like this, any command I give it is only going to happen in those eyes. That's why we're creating these selections here. So I'm going to go down to the bottom of the layers panel, and I'm going to select the layer adjustments. You can see here, adjustment layers right here. I'm going to click on it, and I'm going to do hue saturation, and I'm going to click on it like this. And what you'll see happens is I created a layer, a separate layer, and it says hue and saturation. And you'll see a dark square, a rectangle with two white dots on it. those are the selections that I created. Those are those two round selections that I created over the pupils. Now you'll see the editor here, the hue and saturation. Remember, hue is color, saturation is intensity, and obviously lightness. So you have that's which is also value. This is the these are the elements of color. All right, so once I have my layer mask, my adjustment layer there on the top, you'll see that I can change now the color of those eyes, and I can just hit colorize, which is going to colorize, and you can see already once I've hit it, the eyes have changed color, and you can change the saturation and the lightness, which you're going to have to do a little bit like this, and you can change the eyes the color they want, and we're going to fix this afterwards. I'm going to show you how to make it so you can fix the inside. Now, you can color it like this, color whichever color you'd like so. You can change the saturation like so. You want to make it as realistic as possible. And there we go. We have our colorized. Now, remember, it's because the eyes are very dark to begin with. So it's going to give it that, you have to make sure it has that most natural look to it. Now, the crazy part to fix this is to make the blacks black again. We're going to use a paintbrush. Okay, we're going to use a paintbrush. We're going to zoom in, create a bigger brush tip by using the brackets. And I'm going to make sure that the color that I'm using is black. Now, why is that? Is because we're going to actually paint on that adjustment layer. This little square here, we're going to paint and replace. See, it's how it's white. That's where the color is shining through from the underneath layer. And I'm going to actually just paint over the top with black. And you can see how the black becomes black again because I am covering that area up in the layer, in the adjustment layer. You don't want to go too much because watch, if I do that, watch, it goes back to normal, the eyes the way they were before. And you'll have to create another selection. So you're just going to make it black and paint in that pupil right there, kind of clean it up. There you go. And that's how you change those first eyes. You can see there's nice, dark, rich blue eyes. I made them a little teal there. Okay. Now, the great thing is I can move on to the next one and create another selection. So I'm going to go back to my elliptical marquee. I'm going to hold shift, pull from the corner. You see it's nice. And these irises aren't perfectly round, but you get the picture like so. And then I'm going to go to the other one, hold shift again. That's how you create, and you get the best you can. Now you can see that that selection is over on the eyelid, and we're going to fix that again with the painting on that adjustment layer. And I'm going to go ahead and click the adjustment layer again, click on hue and saturation, and then click on colorize. And look at what happened. Another layer was created, but you can see that the circles that I created are on a different layer. So it's only going to change the selections that I made in those eyes. I'm going to hit colorize, and you can already see we want to make them red. There we go. And you'll see, look, the eyes were a lot lighter, so a lot more comes through as opposed to the dark eyes. That's why I had all different shades of eyes. So you can see that the reactions of those colors are different with those different shades of eye. I can change the lightness. You don't want to go too light. You want to make it nice. Remember, red. Change that saturation. But we're going to fix those highlights. And again, you can hide this right here. And now, again, we're going to go back, get the paintbrush. Remember, make it to the size of that pupil and make sure that the paint is black. You can go into the color selector up here, or you can go into the color on that toolbar. You can see the blacks in the front. And I'm just going to go ahead, make sure that the hardness is 0, so it has a soft edge. And you can just go ahead and brush over that. And you can see that it gets rid of it on that eyelid. Okay. Now you can just right in the middle there. Look at that. It cleans up that white area. And because it has that softness, it has a nice soft edge to it. And you can see those look pretty good. Those are red eyes. And then you just continue and repeat that. You're going to go here to the next one. Remember, you hold shift, drag your selection. See what happens if I don't hold shift? It doesn't allow me to create another selection. So you have to hold shift. A little too big. Use the space bar to move it. Hold shift. And there we go. And then there's another selection. Then you go to the adjustment layer on the layers panel and hue and saturation. And again, you can see it created another layer there. This is my color picker box. You hit colorize. We're going to make these green now. Change the saturation. You don't want them too light. You want them to get a little darker. You can X out of this. And then remember, you use your paintbrush tool. Do those pupils so you can get that highlight nice and white, and then anything off the top. Like that. Look pretty good so far. So you got the red, green. I tooled the teal on the top, and then at the bottom, we're going to do blue. So you create another layer again. Like that. You hold the shift from the corner of the eye there. Perfect. And again, adjustment layer, hue and saturation, colorize, and we're going to go to blue. Like that. Change the saturation, really nice and blue like that. And these ones you might want to make a little lighter like that. Get rid of that. And you can see those layers. Look at that. Every layer there where the dots are different from all those selections you created. Make sure that you're selected on that. And then just go ahead. Oop. Edit undo in case it's too much. Oops, see what I did there? I can clean up the edge there if I want on that eye. Get those highlights. And if I zoom out, Control minus, you can see my eyes are red, green, and blue. And I did the teal on the top. And this is exactly what your assignment should look like. Again, any color you'd like on the top, then red, green, and blue on the bottom. RGB, red, green, blue. Remember to save your work. File, save as. You're going to save it on your computer. I save it to my desktop, and I'm going to title it Gonzalez, my name, and then eyes. Make sure it's Photoshop, and then you hit save, and you've saved your work on your computer. Maximize capability, and you can go ahead and turn it into Google Classroom. Remember, teal or any color you'd like on the first set of eyes, then red, green, and blue.